Hello and welcome to Conote Castle of Chapter 8 of my Fire Emblem 4 0% gross low turn count playthrough. So, the first thing straight off the bat is my ordering of warping over to Leinster may seem a little unconventional. You'd obviously normally want your lord to be ahead because he's the one who's seizing. But I actually take my time in warping Celis over, mostly because there's no real point to having him super far ahead. He can't fight enemies at 1 to 2 range. And there are a lot of enemies with 1 to 2 range. He gets killed easily. His offense isn't the greatest without rigging crits. It's just, there's no point. So instead, I get my main combat units for this chapter, and actually probably for most of the rest of this run, in Oifi and Alas. So Oifi has high base stats and also high magic stat, allowing him to effectively utilize the light range for my only good mounted 1 to 2 range. And Alas simply has a holy weapon, continuing critical and decent stats, which is obviously perfect for rigging crits. So besides the main charge going on, I also am feeding Jan a bunch of experience by having her warp as much as possible. And here Oifi begins his job. So I also sent Layla on this turn instead of Celis, because if she moves her full range, since she has she can just simply dance Celis the next turn so that he gets 2 full moves in, while she also stays ahead. So this is the one that lets me have the most units ahead. And I position Layla and Alas precisely such that they do not go in range of all the Javelin Knights, so that Oifi can just slaughter them. And this whole chain of units, Shannon is actually going to kill the boss, because he drops the Hero Lance, which Shannon will sell for money. But besides that, the units are going out to be return bait, so that Jan can use her staff every turn. I don't know if I need to get Jan promoted technically, but it'll help out a lot in the final chapter, so I might as well, because the return staff isn't needed elsewhere at this point. And RNGBs. So I actually really quite like Conote Castle, just in terms of design. Although the starting positioning with Leinster is a bit annoying, with the warp staff it's no big deal, and it's kind of fun because it seems to be a sort of boss gauntlet in a way this chapter. First you fight Ovo and all her knights, although it would be better designed if there were more Lance Knights and fewer Troubadours. And then you fight the Mage Sisters, then you fight, Recruit Ace Yellow, I kill him. Then you fight Ishtar, though I'm not fighting her on this playthrough because I finished the chapter too quickly. The castle. But I just think it's one of the more interesting designs, and I don't know. It's quite nice. It's more challenging than the rest. One of the things I really like about Fire Emblem 4 is the fact that dangerous bosses will actually move and attack, unlike all the other games. Which, I mean, though it isn't a challenge if you know what you're doing, some of the bosses like Aryan can actually be challenging. So it's one of the things I like about this game. One of many. Yeah, fee getting returned for all of that stuff. And yeah, I don't even really have to fight those armored knights. I just finished the castle on time. That they can't do anything. The game doesn't really expect you to go this fast. You'll see why with a little glitch later on. Or not glitch, just something they didn't plan for with Ishtar, but... And I want to clear these Troubadours out because even though they aren't risky, I don't want them to get in the way or anything. And as you're about to see, the perks of warping Layla first means both her and Celis can move 2 full movement cycles from the castle, Witchbear. And Celis, so bad that he even needs a rig to kill a Troubadour, which are like some of the most worthless enemies in this game usually, because most units are good enough to 1 round, everything, so healing is kind of obsolete, but it's help even for that. Of course, I want the hero sword to continue climbing kills, because although climbing kills won't save turns anymore, because all it's needed for is a few snipes, it does increase reliability, because these kills aren't very likely, and it's nice, and I like to make them better whenever possible. And there my archer comes out who will get killed. I don't think there's any way to get Daisy far enough forward. Maybe there is, but why bother? Yeah, as you can see, Celis can't even. And Oifi continues to do a great job. Most people when they play this game think that having a high magic stat on a physical unit would kind of be worthless, but magic swords are really good, and to make great use of them, you don't need that high of a magic stat. Like, Oifei's 9 is already enough to do a lot. So that's, I don't know, even in a playthrough with growths, in a low turn count playthrough, I don't know how much use he'd see, just because Celis would be able to destroy, Celis and Leaf would be able to destroy everything, but it would be good for him. And yeah. Just, even though these enemies can normally be tough, with my good weapons and good units and rigging crits, they really aren't. The Mage Sisters really aren't tough to kill. And here, hopefully, you'll be able to see how useful it is to have Layla with the leg ring and the night ring, because this isn't the kind of chapter where you can... Because being able to move twice actually works out well, because this isn't the kind of chapter where you can necessarily run straight through. There are lots of choke points, lots of blockage from enemies, which makes it so that you have to attack about twice per turn. So that is... So by her having the leg ring and the night ring instead of a mounted unit, it makes it so that, for instance, with this blockade I'm about to attack, in one turn I could finish off the Mage Sisters and break through the blockade. So, though on a normal playthrough, well, you'd probably have Leaf, but without, so that would still be the superior combination, but in a playthrough without Leaf and without Celis, it still might be a good idea to have it on her just to set things up, especially because there's no other person to give it to on 0% growth, just because what's Celis going to do with it? He's so weak. And, yeah, this much rigging just to kill a normal Armor Knight with a critical hero sword. A lot of this playthrough will just be me complaining about how bad Celis is on 0% growth. Put so much effort into getting him promoted, and this is still all he can do. I mean, it had to be done, but come on. Please do something, Celis. I mean, like, if only I had Sigurd, like, honestly, in his place in the 2nd generation. That would be so amazing. Because he'd actually not get one-shotted by a lot. As for Les, it's good that he's picking up all these items, because I may or may not need to get him promoted. I'm not sure yet, but it's always good to have the backup. I mean, promoted by the beginning of Chapter 9. And you'll notice that I'm not doing anything with Leaf in the arena. He does need to promote, obviously, and do those fights, but I just decided to save them for the next video because I was too lazy to do them now. You can do them at any point, honestly. And yay, Oifi takes out a Cielo, rip. You wouldn't have done anything anyways. I don't know if I could recruit you. Oh well. And yeah, as you can see, Armor Knights don't know how to move and are slow. Like, there's so many cases where there are groups of enemies that should theoretically be threatening your base and I don't even have to deal with them at all. I think it happens in Chapter 9. This chapter happens in the 1st generation a few times with Armor Knight squads that have approached from the back. It just happens. And yeah, this strategy is actually surprisingly reliable for fighting so many strong enemies till the very end. The Bloom Boss kill relies upon Celis getting 2 criticals with the hero sword. With the current amount of kills the hero sword has, it has about a 0.44% chance of success, and I think the RN chain is specifically unhelpful this time round, So that equated to about 12 minutes of RNG abuse, which is why I'm really going to be skipping it, because, I mean, you guys really do not want to be watching that. Even though I could obviously tell you to skip it, I really don't feel like waiting to upload a massive video, so that's my rationale for getting rid of it. Oifi will have to visit a village because he needs to repair the light sword, because he'll be killing a lot of javelin using wyvern knights in the next castle. It doesn't actually cost a turn or anything, and I just need to rig it so yeah, essentially part of the course for this chapter, Aless just needs a Mistleton crit to destroy an enemy, and yeah. I'll be completing this in 5 turns. I'm pretty sure 4 turns is possible with growths. I mean, I've never done a low turn count playthrough this game with growths, but with Rescue Staff Leaf, which you could have by this point, it should definitely be doable. But for the purpose of this playthrough, this is the lowest possible. Maybe Legring Salus with growths could do something, but no, and I'm pretty happy it's a good clear. So yeah, I skipped the RNG abuse there because it was way too long. 5 turns, Salus gets a ridiculously unreliable boss kill. And thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.